So we're going to need some libraries for this exercise, right? We're going to need some libraries to be able to extract the data from Amazon.com. So we're going to need Selenium, we're going to need BeautifulSoup, we're going to need some web drivers, right? So I'll show you how we're going to combine these tools to get the data from the Amazon.com. So let's go ahead and then install these libraries. All right. So we're going to install these libraries as required. All right. So I'm going to do pip install, right? Pip install, and the first one that we're going to install is called Selenium, right? So we're going to install Selenium, and you also want to install, like if you're on Microsoft Edge, right? So you want to install MS Edge, right? So I will do pip install MS Edge dash Selenium, right? Dash tools. Okay, then you also want to install BS4, right? Because we're going to use BeautifulSoup in conjunction with these other libraries to do to extract the data. Okay, so let's do pip install, right? Pip install BS4. Okay, so I'm going to run these three over here. Okay, so now since I have these ones already installed, it's going to show me requirement already satisfied over here. Okay, so we're going to use some Chrome drivers and we need to install them as well, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is to install these Chrome drivers. So specifically, I'm going to install the one that suits my my browser here, right? So I'm going to do Chrome driver, right? Chrome driver underscore binary. Okay, underscore binary. Then I'll specify the my version, right? So over here I can go here, then I go to settings, right? I go to settings. Now when I go to settings over here, I can go to about Chrome, right? About Chrome over here, right? So if I click on that, now see that I have the version over here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this version. I'm going to copy this version, then I come back here and paste it there. Okay, so this is basically what I have to do. Then I run this code. Okay, so it's saying your requirement already satisfied because I already have it. Right, but if you don't have it, that's how you do it to get it. Okay, then the next thing is to import other libraries. Now we've installed them, so we need to import them. All right, so I'm going to do from Selenium. From Selenium import web driver, right? Import web driver. Then I'm going to do import what else should I import? Import the Chrome, right? The Chrome driver. That's the Chrome driver binary that I specify above there, right? I'm going to import that as well. Then if you're using Microsoft Edge, then you would like to, so let me do it here for MS Edge, right? So if you're using Microsoft Edge, then you would like to do from MS Edge dot Selenium, right? And then Selenium underscore tools, right? You have to do that. Then after you do that, you can import the Edge, right? You can import Edge, and you can also import Edge options as well. All right, so that's what you need to do. I think pretty much it. Let me also import CSV because we can use it later on. All right, okay, so let me run this and see. Okay, so all good over here. The next thing that I'm going to do is to set up the drivers, right? So to set up the driver, so if you are using Chrome, right? So for Chrome, what you can do is to do driver equals web driver dot Chrome. Okay, web driver dot Chrome, something like that. Okay, and if you're not using Chrome and you're using something else, if you're using let's say if you're using Firefox, or if you're using Firefox, so let me do for Firefox, right? So if you're using Firefox, then you would like to do driver equals let me copy the same thing over here. Okay, but instead of Chrome, I'm going to use Firefox over here. Okay, that's the only thing that you have to do. And if you're using MSH, right, then you have to do that is for MSH, right, then you have to do options. Options equals the edge option that you imported earlier on, right? So edge options. Okay, then what you need to do here is you have to do options dot use underscore chromium. You have to do this one, then you set it to true. Okay, so if you're using a Microsoft Edge, that's what you need to do. Then finally you can do driver, or you can do driver equals edge, then you pass in the options that you've created, right? So over here you just have to do options equals the options, right? Options equals these options that you've created. Okay, so I'm using over here I'm using Chrome, so I'm going to comment the Firefox and the Microsoft Edge out, right? So depending on what you're using, the browser that you're using, if you're using Firefox, you comment all the rest and leave the Firefox. If you're using Microsoft Edge, you comment all the rest and you leave the Microsoft Edge, right? In this case I'm using Chrome, so I'm just going to use this one over here. Okay, so I'm going to run this one. Okay, so now this one is automatically going to open a browser here for you, right? It's just going to open this browser for you automatically. All right, so that's basically what you do. So the next thing that we're going to do after that is done is to open a specific URL. Okay, so I'm just going to define, say, URL. All right, let me zoom in. I'm just going to define, say, URL equals, then let's see, we can do amazon.com, right? Amazon.com. Okay, so we can do amazon.com. So I'm going to copy this URL over here, then I go back here and then I paste it here. Okay, so that's the URL that I'm going to define. Then I'm going to use the driver to open this URL, right? So that it will open in this default browser that it opened for us. Okay, so I'm going to do driver.get. All right, driver.get, then I pass in the URL. All right, so let's run this one and see. So now you see that it's there. Now you see that it's opening for us, right? It's opening for us in the default browser that we have. Okay, I don't want to change. Okay, now I see that it's opening for us over here. Now that we have everything set up, now let's try and then search for something over here. So I'm just going to search for, say, phone. Right, let me do that. Okay, now you can observe that. Now if I show you this, you can observe that over here, you see the keyword that we searched is here, right? It's part of the URL, right? It's automatically being embedded in the URL over here. Okay, now if I search for a different thing over here, let me maybe search for, let's say, phone case, right? Let me search for phone case. Now if we do that again, you can see that the keyword that we searched is part of the URL. Okay, it's being embedded in the URL for us. Okay, so we can base on this and then create some kind of a generic URL, right? We can base on this and then create a kind of generic URL by just putting something here, a placeholder here, which will just be accepting the keyword that the user will be typing in, right? Because we want to build an automatic web scraper, which will, I mean, we don't know the keyword that the users are going to use, right? So we need to find a way to create something generic. Okay, so we are trying to understand what is happening here, right? And we have seen that if you type a keyword here, automatically the keyword is being embedded in the URL for us. So let's see how we can create a generic function so that we can use that one for this particular purpose. Okay, so I'm going to create a function here. So let's say my URL, right? I'm going to create a function with a function name called my URL, right? So that's just going to be the URL, I mean the generic URL that we're going to create, right? And this is going to accept a keyword, all right? It's just going to accept a keyword over here. Okay, so after that one is done, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a certain template, right? So I'm just going to name it as temp, right? I'm just going to create a template over here, and this template is going to contain the URL. So let's take, for instance, if I copy this URL and then bring it here, right? This is the URL that we have. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove this keyword over there, right? So that this keyword will become something generic for us. All right, so I'm going to put a curly bracket around the keyword, right? So that's what I have done, right? Let me redo this so that you see. So I just highlight the keyword over here, right? Then I put a curly bracket around it, right? So now you see that the keyword is having this curly bracket over here. Now I'm going to remove this keyword out of it, okay, so that it will be something generic, so it could accept any keyword at all. All right, so whatever you type should just be replaced over there. Okay, that's what we are doing right now. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the keyword over here. Okay, so I'm going to do keyword equals then what I'm going to do right now is that if I type in the keyword, right, so for instance, if I type in the keyword like this, like phone case, it's having space in between them, so I want to remove the space and put plus there, right? So that I want to remove the space and put plus there, so that that keyword will become phone plus case, right? So that's exactly what is going to be replaced over here for me, because that's how the URL is being formed, right? You can see over here phone plus case. So that's what I want to do. I want the keyword to be whatever the user will type. If it's a single word, then nothing will happen. But if it's a double word, for instance, if it is say kids clothes, right? Kids clothes, then I want it to be like this. I want it to be like kids plus clothes, right? Because if I just search for kids clothes and see how the URL will be like, now you see that it's now kids plus clothes, right? So that's what I want to do, create a generic keyword format and then create a generic URL. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do whatever keyword that is here, right? That is the keyword that the user will pass in, right? Let me bring it here, right? I'm going to replace any space with a plus. Okay, any space with a plus. So this basically what I'm doing. And finally I'll return the URL that I have, which is going to be the temp, right? Which is going to be the template that I've created over here, this template. Okay, dot format, right? This template dot format that format keyword, right? Then I put in my keyword. So that is basically what is happening here, is that it's just like I'm adding this dot format over here, right? Just like I'm adding it over here, dot format here. So whatever keyword the person will type, right, whatever keyword the person will put over here, okay, should be populated over here, okay, should be put in this curly bracket. That's basically what I'm doing. All right. Okay, so now that this is done, let me run this one over here and see if everything is fine. Right, now everything is cool. What we're going to do is to try this one and see if it works. Okay, so let's say I have a URL, right, like this. I have a URL. Then okay, so let me create a URL here and see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to use the function that I've created, right? So in order to use this one, you have to call the function. Okay, then I pass in a keyword. Okay, remember that we are saying that it accepts a keyword, then it will do all these things, right? It will replace the plus with the empty space with the plus and put it here, right? So let's say I search for, say, laptop charger. Let's see if it's going to do that for us. All right, let me show the URL, right? So if this works, it should show me the URL. Now we see what is happening here. All right, so now you see what is happening here, right? Now you see that we have laptop plus charger, right? And this is how it's going to be. So if I go and then go to the browser itself and search for the same thing, let's see how it's going to show, right? Let's see how it's going to show. So if I put laptop charger here and then press enter, now you see the URL is the same thing. Let's copy this URL and then go and compare and see. Right, let's see. Let me put it here. Now I see that it's just the same thing, right? It's just the same thing over here, right? Laptop plus charger, right? With the reference, the reference is just going to be whether it's number 2 or number 1, but it's just fine, right? That one is okay. Okay. Now we have a way to create a generic URL, right? We have a way to create a generic URL.